Hi, my name is Dwayne Dyer. I'm a 500K Premier Select in XANGO, and tonight we will be talking about the XALO opportunity, and I'm very excited to be here with you on this webinar, and I want to thank you for joining us. If there's just one idea that you pick out from the webinar tonight, it'll be worth your while to have gone through this presentation together. I'm very excited to talk about XALO Ageless. This is the presentation that I have given recently throughout some places of the world. I just recently finished a big trip from Australia and received a lot of great reviews on it. So XANGO has taken a very bold initiative. At our recent global convention, they released a product that absolutely shocked the XANGO nation, and it has exploded across the globe. People are building phenomenally with XALO, and they've created a secondary income source with XALO that we're going to talk about on this webinar. What we are about is the wellness revolution. I love what our Senior Vice President of Business Development, Beverly Hollister, has said. She said we're really in a wellness revolution, and it's not just a physical wellness, although that's primarily what we're about, taking care of those that we love, our families, our children, our parents, ourselves, and creating better health for us. But a wellness revolution is more than that. It's an individual revolution. It's a financial revolution. It's an emotional revolution. It's a spiritual revolution. And we bring that together, a social revolution within XANGO, and we love it. It's we could be earning our income a lot of different ways. You know, we could be selling cars. We could be opening up this or that, or having this or that we do business with. But instead, we are working at wellness, creating an individual to better health and wealth, and that's what we love to do. We started with the mangosteen fruit. We dominate the mangosteen fruit category. 85% of the world's sales of mangosteen comes through XANGO and directly through XANGO distributors. That's a phenomenal dominance in market share. We've created a multi-billion-dollar brand through our CEO, Aaron Garrity, and through his expertise and his brilliance in creating branding, through our other founders, Gordon Morton and Joe Morton and Kent Wood and Gary Hollister. These individuals are just phenomenal at what they do, and the results, like Yogi Berra said, it ain't bragging if you've done it, the great baseball player, and it ain't bragging, we've done it. We're only an 11-year-old company, having opened our doors November 4th of 2002, and here we are, have created a $2.5 billion brand out of a single product called the mangosteen fruit. And we're not going to go into a lot of details on the mangosteen. There's a lot of research that you can do. If you're new to XANGO, you're looking at it as a outsider coming in for the first time, get with the person who took you to this call or this webinar presentation, and they can show you the www.pubmed.gov websites. They can take you to Xanthones. They can show you why we have done so well with this phenomenal product bringing to market. So what created the phenomenon was a very focused opportunity. When we opened our doors November 4th of 2002, there was a handful of employees, 3 little fax machines in a very small office, and it exploded. I remember the fax machines melting down and walking into one of our founders' offices, Gordon Morton, and saying, "Gordon, you got to fix this," because they were not getting through and people were starting to complain. And Gordon leaped out of his chair, and being the Italian warrior that he is, he just poked his finger in my chest and said, "No, you've got to fix this." And I remember very clearly, yep, I'm part of this team. It's my responsibility as a distributor. I'm going to stop on my way home, procure a fax machine, hook it up, and have people start faxing me applications and orders so I can help take them over to the company and become part of the solution. And so that focused opportunity has led to tremendous success. Our first year, $30 million US in sales. How many companies can say they did $30 million in their very first year of business? Think about the inventory procurement. Think about the dollars that it takes to run, credit card processing. Think of the line of credit that you have to get from banks. as they watch in, first year, this record amount of sales being transacted. It was just amazing that they were able to hold it together. Not only did they hold it together, they went through 3 or 4 building business moves during that first year. And when you think about they never once were down a day, telephone lines stayed up, businesses stayed up, operations stayed up, and how they pulled that together is just a tremendous achievement that they did. And of course, they won all kind of recognitions for it. The next year, $105 million in sales, tripled sales within a year. Can you imagine staffing the employees, getting them trained, order processing, putting in phone lines, adding cubicles, creating more distribution facilities around the U.S. It was tremendous. Immediately went to international expansion, and they went north, south, and sideways. The very first international market was Australia, and then they went north to Canada and south to Mexico, the border areas, and they were phenomenal, just excited. They knew what they wanted. The goals were set. A focused opportunity created $105 million. They didn't stop there. $250 million in annual sales followed pretty shortly thereafter, and again won some tremendous accolades. And you can go to www.xango.com and you can look at the achievements, the press releases. You can see how they won best performing company in the Western region, how they were placed third nationally for best performing company under 5 years old, et cetera, et cetera. They won the accolades, and it was very well deserved what the company did. Tremendous success. And the success factors that you look to when you look at this, and the reason why I joined XANGO in the beginning was I knew the founders of the company, and I knew what they were capable of doing, and I got to tell you, they never let me down. The picture here you see on the screen is Gary Hollister on the left. I love that man. Aaron Garrity, our CEO, love him, and Joe Morton and Gordon Morton and Kent Wood. Just men I tremendously respect, and they've earned literally over 2 million distributors' respects for what they've been able to accomplish. I tell the story of when one of our countries, XANGO has never been late on a commission run ever. In my 11 years with XANGO, I'm the very first distributor to join XANGO, and I have watched the commission process from the very beginning. I remember getting a telephone call about 10 o'clock one night to come down to the office and help stuff commission checks into envelopes because they were running with only a very short staff, about 10-person staff, and they were trying to get a few thousand commission checks out. And I remember running down there and helping stuff checks into envelopes, and I was trying to find out where my check was, and of course they were folded in such a way where I couldn't see anything. We were just stuffing them in envelopes, and I turned to the IT director and I said, "Are these going to go out on time?" And he turned to me and he said, "I have never once been late on a commission run. I've been doing this for years. It is not going to start tonight." And they got those checks out by midnight and got them in the run, and I thought, they have processed millions upon millions of commission checks every week, every month, and every quarter. Not once have they been late. I watched one time when a new market was opening in Taiwan, and our CEO, Aaron Garrity, was getting a little bit frustrated and distributors were getting really frustrated because XANGO was releasing the commissions to the Taiwan bank, but the bank wasn't releasing it to the distributors. There was some sort of hiccup between the Taiwan bank and the distributor accounts. And Aaron said, "Come with me." We were up in his office. He went around the corner into finance, and he pointed at several individuals. He said, you, and you, get up, get out, and get to the airport, get on a flight to Taiwan, and don't come back until this is resolved. And up they went, out they went. They got on a flight to Taiwan. They got down there, and within a week, they've discovered the problems working with the Taiwan bank. It was opened up, the floodgates opened, the monies were released to distributors, and they've never been late on a commission run to our Taiwan distributor since. So they take it very seriously, and I love that. I always tell individuals that when I look at these gentlemen, there were really just 3 things I really wanted them to do right. I wanted this executive team to produce great products, unique products that have story behind them. They were not Me Too products. I've been with a Me Too company where they've just taken a bunch of products, knocked off a competitor, priced them just slightly less, and threw them out there to market. And those companies are struggling these days. I looked for these guys to continue to provide great opportunity by opening, expanding new markets, giving us new opportunities to take our product message story to. They have not disappointed. I will show you here in a minute where we're in 43 countries around the world, and for an 11-year-old company, that's a phenomenal statement. Excellent distribution and a proven track record. You look at these 43 countries, everything you see there in orange is licensed to do business with XANGO and XANGO distributors. You see from the Americas starting into Latin America. You see South Africa, one of our fastest growing markets. You see all of Europe, CIS markets like Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Mongolia, all open. The northern region, Norway, Sweden, Finland, all open. You look at the Southeast Asia region, all opening down through Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Taiwan, going down into Australia, which I guess they would call Western Asia or way South Asia. But there you have Australia, New Zealand, and markets out in the islands there. So tremendous track record, and it's seamless global. I've been with $2 billion companies in our industry, and neither one of them had seamless global opportunities where it didn't matter if you were in California sponsoring in Texas, or Texas sponsoring in Taiwan, or Taiwan sponsoring back into Toronto, Canada, all seamless global. Fantastic. What this has done, obviously, is created a tremendous opportunity. When you have the right products run by the right people with the right compensation plan, you produce opportunity for people to achieve what they want to achieve. And this, I love this photo. It was taken at a recent convention in Salt Lake City, Utah. You have a stage full of people. There's hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 people that are up there on stage holding checks. And the checks there you see are multi-million-dollar club members, million-dollar club members, and a whole lot of people that are earning upwards of $100,000 or more per year. I love XANGO because of a very, very strong middle class. There's not just one or two people that are making millions of dollars and everybody else doesn't make anything. I remember one time being in a network marketing company where I got a telephone call from one of the top 100 achievers, and they said, Dwayne, I made the top 100 club. And I said, oh, that's great. And he says, you don't understand. I don't make enough money to pay for my parking in New York City. And I thought, how can that be? How can a top 100 check earner not make enough money to pay for his parking in New York City? And then I realized the compensation plan was set up so that only a few people at the very top made all the money and no one else made anything. That's not the way it is at XANGO. We have a great direct income curve to the rank, to the amount of money that they're earning. Our 1K, 5K, 20K, Premier, 100K, 200K, 500K are a direct line in proportion to how much money they can earn at each position. It's fascinating to me that the same amount of money that's paid at the bottom end is paid to the top end, with a very strong middle class in the middle. And I love the XANGO founders for putting together a compensation plan that's so balanced that way. $2.5 billion you see on this next slide, which is the amount of income that XANGO has brought in, and that means in a direct proportion over $1 billion have been paid out to XANGO distributors in under 11 years. And you look at that and you say, wow, that is a phenomenal amount. Now imagine this big machine, this fine-tuned, marvelous company that is now ready to enter a huge market. Imagine entering a global anti-aging $300 billion market, having taken months to research and develop, maybe years to research and develop a product that they could introduce into the anti-aging market. And that's what we're talking about today on this webinar. We're talking about XALO Ageless. I love this photo in this next slide. That man on the right could be my dad. He's looking in the mirror. You can see he's an elderly individual, but he sees himself in his young Army uniform. Last week I was down in Los Angeles helping to celebrate with my wife my father's 83rd birthday. And I love my dad because he looks in the mirror and he looks younger than his spirit is young. Let me put it that way. He has a youthful spirit, as does my mom. They work every day, both of them. They're very active. They drive everywhere. My dad has owned the same small optical company called Dyer Optical on the corner of Harbor and Whittier Boulevard for the last 50 years. And behind his optical company is a retirement community. And he will make rounds over there on occasion to help service people who have lost little temple screws or a nose pad on their eyeglass frames. And he'll tell me that he's visiting the old folks' home over there. He considers that the old folks' home. Now, he's actually older probably than most of the residents that are in there, but I don't want to tell him that because I don't want that to catch up with him. So, you know, aging. We want to live younger longer. That's the idea. Keep our spirits young. But the symptoms of aging are pretty dramatic. Cardiovascular heart disease, you take all the death in the world, you add it together. You take all the cancer in the world, you add it together, and it will not equal what people die of, and that is heart and cardiovascular disease. Other signs of aging are low energy, low immune function, bone density. I was not fully aware of bone density until I went to Korea, and I saw a tremendous phenomenon there. I saw all the elderly women all very stooped over. And I thought, how can this be? Why I don't see this in the U.S. as much? You see it on occasion, but not as much. And I began to understand the effects of osteoporosis and what causes it. And I was told that during the war, most of the women got stripped of diet that accelerated osteoporosis. They didn't have the calcium, magnesium because they didn't have the dairy or the milk or the cheese, or I mean, they were basically living off tree bark at times. Because it devastated them so much. And that began a lifelong pursuit for me to understand more the effects of mineral deficiency and vitamin deficiency in the body. And I learned some fascinating things. I learned that the British sailors would sail off and half of them would die of a vitamin deficiency called scurvy. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what caused it. I ran into a woman up in Seattle, Washington. She had just come home from the hospital. They thought she had leukemia or bone cancer. She was very pale, she was bleeding, she was bruising easily, and it turned out that she had scurvy. And I asked her, how does a modern-day woman in Seattle, Washington get scurvy? Well, she told me that she had decided to go on to a fish-only diet to lose weight, and for 6 months she basically gave herself the same diet that a British sailor would. She went only on fish, and as a result, because of her lack of any kind of fruits or vegetables, she developed scurvy. Well, that was devastating to the British Navy 300 years earlier. And a famous scientist, Lund, came along and he did some scientific experiments, and he discovered that when he put limes and lemons on a boat, they sail off, they would not get scurvy. And this became one of the well-known documented scientific nutritional studies, probably the birth of the MLM industry too, because when that ship came back, they started to say to people, hey, mate, you don't want to get scurvy, you just put limes or lemons on your boat. And to this day, the British Navy is known as limeys. We also carried the tradition of cutting a lemon or a lime and squeezing it upon our fish. And we do that because that's what the British Navy did 300 years ago, is they would make those limes and lemons go longer in their supply. Now, they didn't know what it was. Of course, it was a vitamin deficiency. It was vitamin C that could prevent a major catastrophic disease called scurvy. You have prisoners of war who would be deprived vitamins, and a vitamin deficiency manifests itself very quickly, within weeks and within 6 months. You can have beriberi, rickets, scurvy, and other vitamin deficiencies. Vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin C, all create deficiencies, create direct illness. A mineral deficiency, though, can take up to 20 years. You have iron deficiency in women, can lead to anemia. A pregnant woman who doesn't consume enough folic acid might create a baby with spinal bifida. You have an individual who, of course, women with calcium, magnesium supplementation. You have men in diets low in zinc, and you have prostate problems. And that's where the very famous oyster jokes come from, where if you want more virility out of your man, you feed him oysters. Well, oysters are high in zinc, and zinc is a direct nutrient that the prostate needs. And so on and on and on. And I love this study. I love studying nutrition. I love studying what it can do to the body, and the lack of vitamins and minerals in the body in certain nutritional supplements. And this directly results in what we're talking about here, symptoms of aging, because if you rob the body of certain nutrients, you're going to create problems. I'm going to Japan in 2 days. I've made many, many, many trips there. When I stay in the hotel, I'll come out in the morning and they have an American buffet breakfast and they have a Japanese breakfast. And on the American side, I'll have scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, hash browns, and pancakes and French toast and the rest of it. On the Japanese side, I will have some great things like seaweed and sushi and fish and things that we usually in the U.S. would not eat for breakfast, but they do. But they happen to outlive, the average Japanese will outlive the average American by almost 11 years. So you say they got to be doing something right over there. The incidence of breast cancer in the United States will be 8 times greater than what it is in Japan. So obviously they're doing something right over there, and it directly links back to the nutrients that we put inside our bodies. It's not what we eat, it's what we absorb, and we got to absorb the right nutrients. So it directly affects bone density, muscle loss, weight gain, hormone imbalance, memory loss, lack of stamina, oxidative stress, inflammation, wrinkles, aging spots, all related to aging. Here's some pictures of a cross-section of muscle from a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old. Basically, we're growing until we're about 30 years old, 25 to 30, give or take a few years, and then we're dying. From the age of 30 some odd years on, we're slowly dying. And this is, you can see what happens to muscle density from a 60-year-old. You have, on the right there, you see normal bone density, and then you see bone density with osteoporosis, and why we don't want our elderly parents to take a fall, because they can break a hip or they can break a bone much easier than if they are younger. Kid falls, rolls, gets up, and we watch it every Sunday when we watch Sunday football or Saturday college football. We see these kids and they go flying through the air. Try that as an 80-year-old and they have disastrous results. And on the bottom there you see the epidermis, you see the collagen, which is so thick and nice, and then you see depleted collagen, which leads to the wrinkling effect that you see in the elderly, directly related to aging. So when you take a copy, you put it on a copy machine. If you keep the original copy, you can have a pretty decent copy the next time if you keep using the original. But if you don't use the original, if you use a copy to make the next copy, it begins to degrade. After about 8 copies, you don't even recognize what you have. You have spots all over the page and it's turned a little bit. You know what I'm talking about. It's same like a key in a lock. If you take a key and you make an original, a copy from the original, it unlocks the door. But if you use a copy of the key to make the next copy, and then a copy again, it's likely not going to work in the door lock. The same happens with our cellular regeneration. When we have a cell and it divides, and this is why it's so important to have the original stem cell. The stem cell is key because the stem cell is the original cells, and unfortunately our marrow produces such little stem cell, but through science and nutrition we've actually discovered that we can produce more of the original stem cell in our body with the right nutrients. We can actually prolong the life of a cell and actually increase the strength of the mitochondria in the cell, and we can actually increase the lifespan of the telomere in the cell. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So that's what we're talking about here with XALO Ageless. This is a product that is nutritionally designed to support right at the cellular level. We're going to talk about these key facts. It supports healthy DNA function. It actually works at cellular energy production by increasing the strength and the life of the mitochondria and the telomere on the cell. It improves physical stamina. It helps reduce bodily fatigue. It supports cardiovascular health by improving circulation. So again, this is an approach to longevity. Remember we talked about how cardiovascular disease is our #1 problem, and so we're directly addressing that with this new nutritional product from XALO. It helps accelerate muscle regeneration and growth. It balances hormone levels for improved sexual wellness in male and female, and it provides antioxidants to combat free radicals. Sounds almost too good to be true, but so did limes and lemons when they put them on the boat to the sailors and said, this little fruit will help prevent a major cause of death. 50% of men would die from the disease by simply taking this, and on and on and on. We've learned so much about health and how it relates to supplements and nutrition and balanced diet and hormone balancing. So the key blends in XALO Ageless are cellular regeneration, rejuvenation, actually reversing the aging process, and strengthening the cardiovascular system. The first ingredient is mangosteen. It's prized. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because the person who's taking you to this webinar will know all about the mangosteen. Again, we dominate the mangosteen market. 85% market share globally comes through XANGO distributors, and that's a phenomenal multi-billion-dollar brand that the company's created. And you don't get there without very strong results using mangosteen in your diet. You don't get to that level of performance without very strong experiences with the product. Lychee polyphenol. Polyphenols are simply extracts that are multiplied and made a little more potent. It's like eating an entire bowl of lychee or lychee. I lived in Hawaii for 2 years. We pronounced it a little bit differently over there than they do over here. Tomato, same thing. I like to call it lychee. But lychee polyphenols, most people are aware that most of our pharmaceuticals actually come from a natural plant source, and yet they can be very harsh on the body because pharmaceuticals take it to the next level. And so what we do in the nutritional supplement field is simply find the active nutrients. We call them phytonutrients, nutrients from plants. That's the actives in it, so that we can then isolate the actives and make it so that we're consuming a few more than what it would be if we tried to eat the whole bowl at one time. Shilajit. Shilajit is a product. It's like almost like a fungus that grows in the rocks up in the Himalaya mountains. It's a tremendous discovery. Many years ago, the villagers in the Himalayas discovered that there was a monkey that would go up and eat the shilajit, and they would actually be healthier and live longer than the monkeys down in the other areas that did not. Again, tomato, there's 4 or 5 different pronunciations of this. I like shilajit. I asked my family, how would you pronounce this? And my 24-year-old son, who's still single, he said, oh, Dad, that's easy. You just think she's legit. And I thought, okay, a 24-year-old single son would think she's legit. And so that's helped me to remember how to pronounce it, and I do it with a smile on my face. But this is a great discovery. You can research it. There's some great research on it, but basically it empowers this, again, right at the cellular level to help fortify and create a better nutritional system at the cellular DNA level. Certain amino acids like L-leucine, GABA, tribulus, well documented. We're just high-level overviewing here. I'm not an MD. I'm not a scientist. I am a XANGO distributor and very proud of it. But I will tell you that all of these have great research behind them. And when you add them together, you see the last one there, aloe vera, great research on aloe. It's been used for a long time and is well documented for its results for the skin. Resveratrol that comes from grape seed extract, grape skin extract, and beetroot powder. Beetroot being very high in L-arginine. We're going to talk about that here a little bit more in a minute. But I will tell you, when you're visiting France and doing meetings in France, you'll have the meeting, and then afterwards you'll have the real meeting. And the real meeting is fun. It sits around a table, and they bring out maybe 10 or 15 different type of cheeses, and they're fabulous, from just aged cheese on different crackers. It's delightful. And they'll bring out certain fruits of the vine, whether it's alcohol wines or grape juice, de-alcohol wines, or what they call fruit of the vine over there. It's fabulous. The reds, the whites, and this is a huge part of their cultural diet. And it's actually quite fun. You might have a guitar player that comes out, and you might in the meeting, after the meeting, about 2 a.m. And I love it. I love the social culture that they have there. But as a side effect, which is quite fascinating, is that you would think that this country that is very high in dairy and very high in meat, love their raw hamburger meat, you would think that it would be very high in cholesterol and, as a result, very high in cardiovascular disease. And yet the French they can boast as one of the lowest cardiovascular diseases in the world. And why is that? Well, it's because of the amount of the grapeseed extract, the resveratrol, especially in the red wines, that they're drinking. So again, it comes back, this formulation comes back to strengthening the mitochondria. Here's an illustration showing a damaged mitochondria versus a healthy mitochondria. This is Biology 101. I haven't taken biology since the 7th grade, so I will tell you that even a guy like me understands the importance of strengthening the power that powers my cells and increases the life of the telomere on the cell. And that's what we have in our XALO Aegis formulation. Absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. Now, in other products in the XALO line, I'm going to talk about 3 of them very briefly on this. I'm going to talk about Limitless and Reload and Ignite. And I love these products. I use Ignite virtually 2 to 3 times every day. And I think every person that's over 30 years old that's on this webinar should take a serious look at what's in Limitless and Reload and Ignite, and why Ignite is so important to the body. Vasodilation. These products are basically have come from an awareness from our founders who are very much into endurance athletics. Joe Morton is an Ironman. He's a triathlete. He, for heaven's sakes, runs 100-mile events. He told me one time he has to put Vaseline in certain places when he's running 100-mile events so it won't rub and create a rawness, and that's a visual I don't need. But you think about it, you know, it's hard enough to run a marathon at 26 miles, but who runs 100-milers? Well, Joe Morton does, and he's run Ironmans in Hawaii, he's run them in France, and he's quite involved now in mountain climbing around the world. His goal is to climb the 7 mountain peaks around the world. Well, he wanted to know why people were using vasodilators before a race, things like Viagra and Cialis and other vasodilators. And that led him to understanding the reason why vasodilation is so important, to get proper blood flow through the body before a race. That led him to the research of a scientist who won the Nobel Prize back in the mid-90s for his learning of the importance of nitric oxide in the body. The body, he discovered, manufactures its own nitric oxide. When we're children, our cardiovascular system is nice and smooth. The blood flows right cleanly through it, and that every time that heart beats, it pumps to a miraculous vascular system all throughout our body. But when we age, if, again, leading back to improper nutrition, just like sailors lacking vitamin C or Korean women lacking calcium in their diet, he learned that if we don't have certain nutrients in our body begins to not manufacture nitric oxide anymore. And as a result, the cellular lining on our vascular system called the endothelial cell, the endothelial cells deteriorate and disappear, and the cardiovascular lining becomes very sticky, almost like Velcro. And so as the blood fats flow through the body, instead of flowing through and not being affected, children do not have high blood pressure, but adults do, because that cardiovascular system, that Velcro, begins to stick those fats on there, and it begins to shrink and close off, and we have things like medical emergencies like stents, and we have bypass surgery and all the other horrible things that we have to do in order to keep our pump pumping. That pump can skip one beat. That's when we find our one true love, from what I understand. But other than that, that thing's got to keep pumping between 40 and 100 beats per minute, and a little faster in infants and a little slower in athletes. And for the rest of us, it should be around 70 or so beats per minute. But every single minute, that thing better pump, or we're going to be in trouble. Well, as that cardiovascular system closes off, it creates real problems. And so why the Nobel Prize was given to this scientist for discovering nitric oxide is because it's a tremendous discovery. This scientist, by the way, was fascinated with nitroglycerin. He, as a young man, blew up his mother's furniture, and she was thrilled about it because at 10 years of age, he could figure out how to put together a chemistry set that would just develop some nitroglycerin effects. And that led him to the study of the man many years before who created nitroglycerin. And nitroglycerin, of course, is used to blow up things. And one of the horrible effects that he had was his factory blew up and it killed his brother, and he realized, this scientist named Dr. Noble, that he would be known as the man who destroyed his family. He didn't want to be known as that, so he created an award for excellence for medicine, for politics, for science, and it became known as the Nobel Prize, or the Nobel Laureate. When an individual wins the Nobel Prize, he becomes a Nobel Laureate, and this scientist, years later, would win the Nobel Prize for his discovery of nitric oxide in the body. And so what were the ingredients behind it that were so significant? Well, he found out that in order for the body to manufacture its own nitric oxide, it needs certain amino acids. It needs L-arginine, L-citrulline, L-norvaline, and L-arginine comes from a very natural plant source called beetroot. And so that red in beets, just think the heart, because it's phenomenal for the cardiovascular system. And so XANGO has created a product that has L-arginine, L-citrulline, L-norvaline, and beetroot extract in it, as well as mangosteen. And it's a phenomenal product. It's designed to help the body create its own nitric oxide, just like adding limes and lemons to a boat to help stave off a disaster, just like adding certain minerals like iron or calcium or magnesium or any of the other minerals that help support the bodily functions. These amino acids will help the body develop more of its own nitric oxide and help smooth and help rebuild the endothelial cells in the cardiovascular system. Again, another product, Reload, came from our founders who are tremendous at exercise. They went to the research team and they said, isn't there something better that we can take than Gatorade or Powerade or any of these other artificial flavored or sugared products? And the research team went to work, and the brilliant team, it's what you expect of a company that's done $2.5 billion in sales, and they came back and they said, absolutely, we can create a product that will help with muscular regeneration. It can actually have a sweetener from a natural plant source, stevia. We can actually create the electrolytes from coconut juice, and we can put this in a powdered form where it's very easy to throw in your purse or your backpack or your gym bag and use it immediately during or after a workout exercise. My wife uses Reload. She absolutely loves it. She thinks it helps prevent cramping and other problems after exercise. Her muscles aren't as sore, and as a result, we've now begun hundreds of testimonials on Reload and the benefits it is in the after exercise arena. The last product I'm going to talk about has created a phenomenon through XANGO called MB30. Millionaire Before 30. And the reason why the targeted market is so interested in this product called Limitless is because of the energy drink fad. This year in our state of Utah, we've had more energy drinks sold than soft drinks. First time ever. There's a convenience store right around about 3 or 4 miles from my home, right around the corner I was going to say, and they have a big sign out that says, we are the largest supplier of energy drinks in the state. And I thought, wow, they're not promoting soft drinks, they're promoting energy drinks. And we've seen the results of the markets of Red Bull, Rockstar, AMP, and on and on and on. You've seen these products and more coming all the time. I recently came back from Australia. I see them there. I will be, in 2 days, I'll be in Japan. I will see them there. The energy drink phenomenon is amazing what's happening. And the under 30-year-olds are catching up on this. But the problem is the smart ones are realizing this isn't the greatest thing, and they know it. When they take an energy drink and they see the amount of sugars, the amount of carbohydrates, the amount of artificial caffeines, they say, wow, isn't there something better? And again, the $2.5 billion organization that I'm so proud of and their phenomenal research team go to work and they come back and they say, yes, there is much better. There's very natural, well-established energy sources around the world that we can bring together, like Korean ginseng, like green tea, like gotu kola, natural forms of caffeine that works synergistically with the body, not artificially added, that work quite differently. And they came back and they said, there's a tremendous opportunity here for our distributors because we can call the product. Joe Morton actually came up with the name of the product after watching a Bradley Cooper movie, and he saw what he could do with a simple ingredient. He could become limitless, and that became the inspiration behind naming it Limitless. And the sales of Limitless are going right through the roof as people convert from their artificially sweetened, high caloric, high sugar content energy drinks into Limitless, which is a much gentler, more natural, without the downers that you get after an energy drink product. Will you notice an effect? Absolutely. I tell people, don't drink Limitless too late at night unless you have something very interesting to do all night long, because you will definitely be wanting to get up and move, because that's what it's designed to do, is create more energy, and it's a phenomenal product. So Limitless, Reload, Ignite, all part of the new XALO program at XANGO. Phenomenal. XANGO Ageless, phenomenal. These products are priced right. In the Limitless, Reload, and Ignite, you can take there's 25 purchase value or PV associated with each one of the products, and so when you just take 4 of them together, that creates 100 PV, which is the amount that qualifies for income throughout every rank level in XANGO at the start. Just 100 PV at the start globally is what I meant to say. Every country in the world can start with 100 PV to receive those first commissions from the company. 4 boxes is easy. It is not difficult. I'm telling you, it is the easiest thing between Ageless and the Reload and Limitless and Ignite products that have PV associated with them. It's very, very, very easy to establish 100 PV among these products. So it's probably the easiest program that I've ever seen in my 25 years in the industry, and one of the reasons why XANGO and XALO are exploding the way that they are. We've had record sales the last couple of months with these new products, and so I invite everyone that's been listening to this webinar, if you're listening to the webinar, get with the person that brought you here and let them explain more of the compensation plan and how you can get started with the business. You've been great. Thank you.